Stubbsy, you've been playing a game that I'm rather excited to talk about. It's called ADR1FT. Adrift. How do we pronounce this game?
I think it's meant to be Adrift, but it's got a 1 in there to look cool.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the title probably for 9 minutes if we wanted to, but instead we're going to talk about the game because you've played it. It's out this month, I believe, on PlayStation, PC, I think Xbox, actually. I'm not sure, but definitely on PC because you played the Oculus Rift version, mate.
I did. I got to play about half an hour with a nice retail Rift strapped to my face.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed what I played was right at the start of the game.
Yeah.
So, like, you've got your little tutorial that teaches you how to move in space, and then it's like, boom, into the sort of start of what is the actual game.
Right. I mean, it's a game, because for people who don't know and they're seeing it right now, it's in space, you're adrift, you're alone in space. That sounds like it could be really cool in VR, but also kind of make you sick. Because if you go outside the ship, you're going to move around. Like, I'm thinking of Homer Simpson, essentially, eating the crisps as the camera turns. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. And, like, from what I played, there was no point where I wasn't just floating in space.
Okay.
I was never on the ground at any time. I think it very much depends on how well you get on with VR in general. If you struggle with, like, let's say, normal VR experiences, then you're going to hate this. Because even, like, I generally class myself to be quite good at VR. Like, I have never really felt that sick on anything. But there was times when I was messing about with the controls and sort of doing barrel rolls that I did think, oh, actually, this isn't a good idea because I'm not feeling 100% here. But that was sort of pushing it to its extreme.
So the thing is, it's not just VR, is it, though? That's the thing. I mean, we could focus on the VR, but the thing is, it's one of those things where we can't show you what it looks like in VR, and you can't feel what it's like to be in VR. But as a game, it's... am I correct in saying that basically you're stranded, adrift, again, as there's a title, and you have to... but you're on an oxygen that will run out. You have to grab oxygen whilst also essentially discovering the world you're in?
Yeah, that's basically what the game is, at least what I played. You are floating around space and this sort of destroyed or partly destroyed ship. And in my demo, I managed to make my way to, like, this computer terminal that basically said, oh, there's, like, different parts of the ship that are broken, you need to go fix them. So it sort of pointed me in the direction of the first place that I needed to go, and then my demo ended as I was, like, making my way to that, like, halfway through as I was making my way to that area. But sort of the core gameplay mechanic is the navigation itself, because obviously you're in space, and, like, breathable air is not a commodity that's quite as common as it is back here on Earth. So what you have to do is, also floating around in space is, like, tons of random objects from the ship, and littered all over the place are these, like, oxygen canisters, that you basically have to float up to, grab, and then sort of, I assume, insert them somewhere into your suit.
Looks like he's just injecting them into some sort of machine that just takes the oxygen out of the tank very quickly, I might add.
Yeah, and then, like, refills your oxygen, so you can stay alive longer. But the sort of twist here is that it's not just... Oxygen isn't a resource that runs out over a certain amount of time. Like, a full health bar can run out in probably, like, a minute or 5 minutes, depending on how much you use, because the thrusters that propel you through the world are powered by oxygen. So the more you use your thrusters, the less oxygen you have. Which kind of creates the gameplay challenge, because if you run out of oxygen, you obviously die. So you kind of have to limit how much you use the thrusters until you know you can get to the next oxygen tank.
Did you die? Did you die in your play? I know it's only half an hour, but
I didn't.
Intrigued as to...
I didn't.
Okay, the reason I ask is because, like, again, if you're in VR and people are seeing this, the game looks stunning. If you die in VR, like when, because I imagine you're wearing a good pair of headphones and it's very immersive, and suddenly.
Well, the Oculus has built-in headphones on the retail.
Of course, yes, but presumably you're gasping for breath, and it feels a bit. I mean, again, you didn't, but I mean, if that feels not scary, but a bit intense to me, you know.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be a. I wish I kind of had died.
Yeah.
Just to kind of experience it. But there were times where I got a bit low, and it was like panic kind of half started to set in. And I think if you're in there for a good few hours, and it's not an overly long game by the sounds of things.
It doesn't look it, no.
But if you're in there for like a few hours, I think that could become something that's a little weird and disconcerting.
When you take that, I mean, again, we're talking about VR again because it's hard not to, because it does. I wouldn't say it's a game that feels like it was made for it, but I certainly think it looks like a game that would be enhanced by it.
Yeah, I think you're gonna. I don't want to say you're gonna lose out, but I don't think the experience will be quite as good on 2D.
Only if you've never played it in VR, I suppose. You're not going to miss what you've
Yeah.
I mean, for you, if you now go to play it and you don't have a Rift or Vive or whatever it runs on, I mean, I know Rift, but I presume, well, we don't know, that's half the trouble with VR, isn't it? But you would feel like you were missing out. But to someone like me who's never used it, VR with it, I'm probably not going to feel like I'm missing out, am I?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Although, like, there's views in it that, like, everyone can appreciate a view on a screen, like, that's graphically represented, and you can say that's technically impressive. But when you're actually in there, like, experiencing it, it genuinely is a breathtaking moment.
I can totally appreciate that. I mean, you said it doesn't look like a very long game. I think that would probably be the case. It's out this month. The one thing I'm intrigued about is that Adam Orth, the guy behind it, the ex-Microsoft guy, has mentioned, like, it's a very personal story. Now, I know you only played half an hour of it. Did you? But I know you also, and people will be able to read this later. You did speak to Adam about it, and I'm just wondering if what you've played, if that seems the case, like, obviously, if you know what I mean.
I can't really. I don't think there's that much that's obvious.
Right.
Although one thing that was kind of hinted at, is that kind of feeling of being alone and stuff like that, that's going to be a big part of the story, and I think that could be something that he has experienced previously and has sort of tried to push that into the game. Just like the feeling of, because you are genuinely alone, there is like no other, from what I played anyway, there is no other interaction apart from computers.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of assuming that, as you played at the beginning, it's not going to suddenly become like, there's loads of aliens. That would be, to be honest with you, I wonder if a game like this will ever do that, because you hope, you kind of play these games hoping that never happens, and it never does, because it would ruin it, you know what I mean? But, I don't know, it's a very interesting game. It's one I genuinely have been sort of looking at for a very long time. And I kind of can't believe it's actually out this month. But it must be, because you've played it, and from what I've seen and from what you've said, it seems like it's ready.
Yeah, by all accounts, it's pretty solid. I don't really think it was that buggy or anything like that when I played. So
no,
yeah, I can see it being ready and done.
That's one thing about these games that are VR enabled. Like, if there's bugs in them, that would just it's completely ruined it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So we have to be approaching a point where those games don't have them, and I'm glad to hear that this doesn't. I'll be interested to see what it looks like on PS4, because obviously you play PC and the footage we'll be looking at, I'm pretty sure will be PC, but we'll find out pretty soon, because, as I say, it's out this month, and it's the game I think I'm most looking forward to this month, aside The Division, which is out at the time you're watching this. So yeah, Stubbsy, you're at Mike Stubbsy on Twitter. Thank you for your time. I'm at GBSF, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.
Bye.
Should have backed the Goddess Geek Patreon.